Stupidity isn't always a crime. It can be, though, when the particular kind of stupid involved is starting a wildfire in Colorado. There are people in custody and felony warrants out for more as 14 fires burn across our state. The warrants are for the people who illegally used tracer rounds at a shooting range setting off the Lake Christine fire near Basalt. 3 homes were lost there. It was an unattended fire that started the High Chateau fire that burned more than 1,400 acres in Teller County. At least 8 homes were destroyed there, and that means felony charges for 3 people from Colorado Springs, ages 17 to 23. You zoom out to see all of Colorado, and you will see active fires from top to bottom. We begin tonight with a rare look behind the scenes at the people who fight the blazing consequences of human stupidity and nature's unlucky lightning. Noel Brennan is at an air tanker base in Broomfield.
Between the colorful air shows taking place over Colorado wildfires.
It's a whole symphony of action that takes place.
Aircraft make pit stops here at the Jeffco Air Tanker Base in Broomfield.
There's so many things that need to be done as far as taking care of the pilots, making sure the aircraft's where it's supposed to be.
Smaller aircraft land.
They'll pull into one of the pits. We have 2 pits here.
And fill up on retardant.
Basically high-end fertilizer.
That comes all the way from Iowa by the truckload. And there's a reason for the red.
We want it to stand out from all natural colors. That's why they go with the red.
Most planes they fill here take up to 3,000 gallons.
It slows the spread of fire growth, allowing firefighters on the ground to actually construct hand line roads and put the fire out.
This tanker base has pumped 296,279 gallons of retardant since March.
This here is what is going on the planes right now.
That's more than they pump in a typical year and enough to fill about 100 planes. For Next, I'm Noel Brennan.
One of our most frequently asked questions this fire season is why the world's largest firefighting plane, the 747 supertanker based out of Colorado Springs, is not involved in the fight. It deployed over the weekend to California. The fact is they asked before Colorado did. The CEO of the supertanker company says it could come to Colorado if needed once it completes its contract in California, though we understand it's an open-ended deal out there based on how long Cal Fire needs it. Someone else needs a reminder. That's not how you Colorado. You wouldn't think it would need to be said, but do not hang glide over wildfires. The area where the Red Canyon 2 fires burning on National Forest land near Wolcott is a popular spot for hang gliding, and apparently there are people who are willing to risk baking their beans by hang gliding over the fire. But that means that firefighters cannot simultaneously do aerial water drops with that hazard in the air. That's not how you Colorado. We thought the people flying drones over fires was going to be as foolish as it could get. Denver has a new police chief tonight. Paul Pazin was sworn in as the chief this afternoon at the City and County building, which means that Robert White is the former police chief of Denver. For more on Pazin's perspective, particularly how he believes that he can reduce the number of domestic violence calls in the city by hundreds a year, check out our chat with him last week. The full interview is on the Next YouTube page, youtube.com/next on 9 News. 7 o'clock our time, President Trump will be live on this network and others announcing his pick for the Supreme Court. Now, there's no indication that he's going to go to Colorado's jurist for back-to-back selections after Neil Gorsuch, though there were 2 Coloradans on the short list of several dozen candidates. We know that the White House invited some Republican and Democratic senators to be there at the White House for the live announcement. Colorado's Republican Senator Cory Gardner is expected to attend. Colorado's Democratic Senator Michael Bennet was not invited. Unaffiliated voters are the largest single chunk of voters in Colorado, yet we don't tend to elect unaffiliated political candidates. There is a group trying to change that, though, as our Marshall Zellinger noted, unaffiliated has a funny definition.
What is an unaffiliated candidate anyway?
Unite Colorado is a movement of Democrats, Republicans, and independents who are trying to bridge the partisan divide by electing common sense independent candidates to office.
Unite is backing these 5, but only one has long been unaffiliated, Paul Jones. He's running to represent Gunnison. Miley Foster from Colorado Springs was unaffiliated until February 2016 when she became a Democrat.
I registered as a Democrat so I could participate in the caucus.
And then went unaffiliated again last July. Thea Chase from Mesa County was unaffiliated in 2001, then Democrat in 2008, and unaffiliated again in November. Steve Peterson in Douglas County was a Republican until 11 months ago.
Increasingly, I saw a Republican Party that actually focused almost all of its attention on the social issues while abandoning what I consider to be core conservative principles.
Jay Geyer in Broomfield was a registered Republican until last August. I walked with him as he went to the Secretary of State's office to turn in his petitions so he can officially qualify for the ballot.
Prior to this, I would have considered myself kind of a moderate center-right Republican.
Unite also touts how their candidates are outraising their potential Democrat and Republican opponents. While the D's and R's are receiving the majority of their money from in-state donors, I found Unite candidates have a large chunk from out of state.
I didn't realize that. I do have a lot of friends from out of state, and certainly when you're raising money, you call your friends first.
Why so much out-of-state contributions?
Because I asked everybody that I knew.
44% of your money has come from out of state.
It has.
Why?
It has, because frankly, a lot of those folks are folks I grew up with here in Colorado. They went to high school and they went to other cities to make and earn a living and raise their family. And I called on those folks and I said, we grew up in Colorado together. Can you help me out? Most of them did.
What I learned today is that Democrats and Republicans don't have friends who live out of state, apparently, Kyle. All those candidates had to petition to get on the ballot. If you're a House representative, that'd be 400 signatures. Senate, 600. They turned them in today. We won't know for a little bit if they actually will be challenging the Democrats and the Republicans.
Friends in out-of-state places. All right, Marshall, thank you. The Broncos have a temporary sign for their temporary name for Mile High. And listen, we are so glad that Sports Authority has finally been taken off the stadium and something else put up there that we are not even going to point out here how absolutely janky looking that sign is. They're going to keep exterior decorating before the start of the season. They're going to put up some Broncos logos on the north, west, and east sides of the stadium later this week. You're supposed to be able to see through it like that? The Denver neighborhoods of Globeville and El Rio Swansea have been described as the most polluted zip code in America. And they are bracing for a new wave of pollution there, noise pollution, a late-night racket made by the reconstruction of I-70, a project that will last 5 years. Our Katie Eastman explores the construction company's request to turn up the volume.
It is hard to live in a city without loud noises. The trains, the planes, and the construction. But how loud is too loud when you're asleep? People in the Globeville and Swansea neighborhoods don't want to find out.
It's an issue of fairness and our responsibility to let our neighbors be able to sleep in peace.
A noise variance request submitted by Kiewit Infrastructure asked the Denver Department of Public Health and Environment to allow them to be louder at night than usually allowed. If approved, it would apply to a 10-mile stretch of I-70 for a 5-year period.
Hit the button when you hear the beeps.
Okay. Normally, overnight construction in a residential area must be under 50 decibels.
Traffic outside, lawnmowers, stuff like that, you're hitting from 50 plus.
If approved, the hourly decibel limit would be 75 and it could not exceed 86. Ira Dechter, an audio engineer and hearing aid specialist, says that could sound like loud traffic outside your window.
It's concerning because at around 85 decibels is when we start, really getting exposed to loud sounds and can cause hearing loss. But it's about how long you're exposed to that loudness.
A spokesperson for Kiewit Infrastructure says they are required to hire a consultant who would be on site at all times to conduct noise readings. In Denver, Katie Eastman, 9 News.
If the city allows Kiewit to do noisier construction at night, they'd have to give each area 1 night off from the noise for every 5 nights of racket. This is supposed to go in front of a city department for approval later this week, but Kiewit's now requested a delay in the face of questions from the community. Denver has got companies just lined up out the door looking for permits to run bike and scooter sharing programs. Not just Lime and Bird, the companies that dump their scooters in the city without permission, forcing Denver to come up with this plan. There are now 9 companies that have permit applications being reviewed. The names alone are great.
Lime, Bird, Lift, Spin, Razor, Jump, Scoot, Zagster, Ofo. I came up with a few free ideas for you if you're looking to start the next scooter company. Zoom, Wee, Whirl, Zigdaddy, Brogo, Skedaddle, Watch Out, Avocado Toast, and Zippity Doodah. Those are free ideas, my gift to you.
Few names to note, though, on the actual list of scooter and bike companies. Lyft would not talk to us about this today, but we know that Lyft also applied to get into the scooter business in San Francisco. Jump, you should know, is part of Uber, which just today announced it is also investing in Lime. Think this is big business? Ofo is a global company based out of China, where people love their bikes as much as Americans love their cars.
Our next question comes from our own sharp-eyed photojournalist Chris Hansen, who wondered, why are the speed limit signs posted in kilometers in Steamboat Springs?
So we called up the Steamboat Springs Public Works Department to ask if their miles and kilometers per hour speed limit signs are some kind of United Nations plot to impose the metric system. Apparently they are not. I guess it's just because Steamboat gets a lot of international visitors who know kilometers, and listen, nobody wants to drive behind somebody who's going 55 kilometers per hour out on the open road, because that's 35 miles per hour.
We're going to have to rename the segment from You've Crossed a Line to You've Crossed the Whole Stinking Curb. When did this state forget how to park? Let's blame the heat, which means this will be another particularly tough week of parking. And you remember the tiny carriage house in Denver? Less than 400 square feet, going for $215,000. What do you think they actually got for it? It sold today. Hashtag your guess with Hey Next. I'll give you a shout out if you nail it. Next.
Never imagined this would become the most popular segment on Next, but based solely on the volume of your emails, you're itching to tell people you've crossed a line. And this guy didn't cross the line. I mean, you crossed the whole curb, dude. Matt Dillon spotted this wild Mustang over the weekend in a neighborhood just north of the Fort Collins Loveland Municipal Airport. That is an awfully nice car to park straddling the curb like that. You afraid it's going to blow away? I'm always curious, is the person aware that they have done this, or do they just jump out? Nailed it, walk away, who knows? Email the best line crossers you see to next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext.
Hello, July. Hot highs in the 90s all week long. There is a little moisture streaming our way from the southwest. It's moving into western Colorado, and with any luck, we'll be shifting northeast over Denver later in the week. Today, highs above average. We'll do this again tomorrow and Wednesday. Close to 100 across the eastern plains and western slope. A typical high is about 89, so this is a little unusual. Thunder, lightning, even some brief showers coming in on the radar across southwestern Colorado, but it won't be until Thursday and Friday that moisture plume moves northeast along the Front Range. In the meantime, though, there's a stronger system upstream that will bring some real relief from the heat, but not until the weekend. Moisture rotating around high pressure located off to the east of us, bringing up some of those high-base storms for western Colorado. But Denver and the Front Range, we're missing out on all the fun. Fair skies, warm, dry tonight, lows in the mid-60s, hot high back near 100 degrees tomorrow. Might see a little wind shift that brings temperatures down a few degrees, but Wednesday is still dry. A 20% chance of rain from storms Thursday, isolated storms Friday. Saturday looks hot, and how about a little bit of a cooling trend? Highs in the 80s with a good chance of rain from storms on Sunday and Monday, Kyle.
How about it? Thank you, Kathy. So I've heard of cozy homes, but 400 square feet? That's pretty tight. And the carriage house turned into a tiny house in Denver's Berkeley neighborhood, went on the market in May for an eye-popping $215,000. The realtor showed us around on Next, said that the 394 square foot property was a minimalist dream. And apparently there were a lot of people interested. They had 45 showings, and the new owners closed on the property today, asking $215,000. What do you think they got? Shout it out. $236,000. A full $21,000 over asking. That's almost $600 per square foot. The realtor says it is not an investor who purchased the place. The people who bought it are going to squeeze on in and live there.
A champion climber reveals his secret to Next. It's math.
It's definitely solving a puzzle with your body.
It's not rocket science, taking a baby on an airplane, but it felt like it when I did it for the first time last week. And in this era of shrinking newsrooms and fake news insults, who would ever want to become a journalist? All these people. They tell us why next.
Picture a championship-winning rock climber. Guessing you're picturing strong arms, strong legs. Now imagine a climber with an enormous brain. Our Byron Reed introduces us to an MSU Denver student who is applying applied mathematics and computer science to the sport of climbing.
Okay, you got me?
Reaching a new milestone is nothing new for Remy Arata.
I'm 22 today.
He's been at it for the past 11 years.
When he turned 11, there was something in him that just switched, and he just really got motivated for climbing.
We never wanted to push them to do anything. We just kind of threw a lot of stuff at them and saw what stuck.
His approach to rock climbing is a trait he picked up from his grandfather.
My dad was a rock climber in the 1950s, and he was a mathematician, and so it doesn't at all surprise me that Remy has followed that path.
A path that led Remy to Metro State University of Denver.
So I'm a double major in computer science and applied math.
To solve problems with numbers and represent his school.
Because of how I like that analytical thinking side, I think that's why I went into it, because I like that in climbing. I think it's just something I really enjoy doing. It's more thinking and analysis than it is strength.
Skills Arata used to win the Collegiate National Championship in sports climbing.
It's a university I really love, so it felt awesome.
And compete against some of the best in the world.
So I went to the Collegiate World Championships, the second ever Collegiate World Championships, and it was super rad.
An experience that has this co-ed aiming for the top.
It just feels like I should be doing it. It's fun. I really enjoy it, and that's the most important part is I'm having fun while I'm doing it.
For next,
okay,
I'm Byron Reed.
Arata recently placed 15th in the Collegiate World Championships in Slovakia. He's hoping to work in data analysis for a financial firm after he graduates in 2 years. Control freak sounds so negative. I prefer to describe myself as more of a control aficionado, which is why I was a touch worried about our baby daughter's first flight last week. You know, on the off chance that she would start screaming inside a metal tube filled with hundreds of strangers. Judgy strangers. So, you know, the gate agent makes that announcement, family boarding time, and we step forward. The judgment begins. People looking. Does that baby look fussy? How about the parents? They got their poop in a group? Why is Dad so sweaty? So then we get seated on the plane, and then that's when I'm eye-checking every passing passenger. I'm pleading for their patience. It's like a defense attorney during jury selection, scanning faces, looking for any indication that these people believe in mercy. And then our seatmate arrives. She looks nice. I give her a look like, I'll buy you drinks. Not like in a creepy way. I mean, my wife and my baby are right there. Just like a reassuring nod to this woman that I will repay her kindness with tiny bottles of alcohol. What happens next is a bit of a blur. I mean, plane goes up, it flies around, it lands. I think things went okay. There was some agitation, some restlessness, some fussing by me. Baby did great. Baby just laughed and played. She napped. Her dad will try to do better next time. Waylon Jennings' warning only needs a slight tweaking in this era of fake news accusations and shrinking newsrooms around the country. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be journalists. I wondered who would want to get into this business at such a difficult time. And then I met the smart and thoughtful students at this week's Rocky Mountain Journalism Camp for high school journalists.
Hi, Kyle! We're from Smoky Hill High School in Aurora, Colorado.
My name's Helen Erickson, and I'm from Conifer, Colorado.
I'm Zazie.
And I'm Alex.
I'm Danica Tafoya from Rio Rancho High School in Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
I'm Lexi.
I'm Giacomo.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Joy, and we're from Columbine High School.
I'm Nikki.
And I'm Sydney. And we're from Arizona.
We're student journalists from Arapahoe High School.
And I love journalism.
I want to be a journalist because then I get to be the voice of my community.
I like connecting with people.
And we want to become journalists because we want women to have a really good representation of their voices in the media.
We just want our voices to be heard.
And the reason I want to be a journalist is because you get to tell the truth of every story in different ways.
We're passionate about journalism because we have the ability to give a voice to those who aren't heard.
We learn a whole bunch of different stories from different people around the world, and I think that sharing those is really important.
We want to be journalists because people's stories deserve to be told.
I want to be the voice for the people who don't think that they have one.
We think journalism is important because we capture the moment and we tell the stories that need to be told.
We want to be journalists because
our stories matter!
Yes, they do. Best part about being back, honestly, is digging through a week's worth of email feedback. Jim Brungart writes, "Your news is so much better with Kyle Clark gone. I enjoyed my vacation, but not as much as Jim did. See you next time."